Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gabe's back here with some more Hearthstone action. And today we're going to be playing a Mage, good old Mage. In my opinion, the strongest of the classes for Arena. And before we start, quick update on my stats as usual. I'm currently at 74.41% win rate with 2,595 Arena games. So closing in on 2,600, hopefully in this run. Mage is one of my strongest at 77.72% win rate with 570 games. So, oops, I think I said runs when I was saying the game number before. Almost 2,600 games, not runs. Anyway, whatever. So we got a rare pick here first. Mana Act is definitely the worst of these. Generally try to avoid this card since it doesn't get buffed permanently, it's only temporary. Kirantor Mage is pretty good, 3-drop. Probably won't draft that many secrets because secrets are not that powerful. But if you have one or two, just because, this is a pretty strong card to play on the same turn as those, and otherwise just a 4-3 for 3 is fine. But Kodo is the winner. Usually a 2-for-1 card. Sometimes you can get extremely good value by killing off something that costs the opponent, 4 or 5 mana from the battle cry. So it's really good. Okay, probably Nightblade, the weakest of these. It's debatable that the battle cry can be used with really aggro rush decks for that extra bit of damage you need to finish the opponent, but that really doesn't come up in Arena that often. Lord of the Arena is an okay late game minion. 5 health is strong enough that he usually requires 1 to 2 damage sources to kill. But Shattered Sun is the winner here. She's still quite strong even with 2 health. And hopefully we'll get some stuff we can buff her with. Or buff with her. Wow, alright, 3 really weak cards here. Oracle's terrible. Deckhand is also terrible because we won't have any weapons. So it's just a plain 2-1. So I think I actually go Engineer here. Now, one thing to note that is Engineer is actually much weaker now than it used to be with the 1 health instead of 2. And it's almost exactly identical to the Paladin Hero Power, summoning a 1-1 for 2 mana. But in this case, I will pick it over these cards just as an effort to cycle through my deck slightly faster. It's going to be more useful as just a 1-1 for 2 than these cards, I think. Well, actually, now that I say that, I think I'm changing my own mind. I'm not going to have a weapon, though, so this will never be charged. So, yeah, I'll keep it. It's fine. Alright, Mana Addict again. Crazed Alchemist is okay, but you really have to utilize his battle cry effectively because his stats are pretty weak. So I'm going to go Abomination. It's pseudo board clear. More often, though, I just play it against a strong single minion, and then they just trade. So this, you can effectively think of this guy as having 6 attack. So I kind of think of him as a 6-4 minion for 5, which is pretty good. So we'll grab him. 3 Mage cards here. So Mirror Entity, I think, is the weakest of these. It's probably the most common secret you'll see for mages, but most people will play around it properly. It's also important to note that when you mirror something, it's a summon copy of it. What that means is you do not get the battle cry effects from that summon. So if the opponent plays an Engineer, for example, you just get an Engineer, a 1-1 for your Mirror Entity. They get the battle cry, though, and draw a card, but you will not. Arcane Intellect is okay for card advantage, but it loses you tempo, so you have to be careful when you play it. Fireball, however, is the clear winner. Really efficient removal, or the most efficient in the game, really. Okay, Arcane Explosion is fairly weak because you cannot rely on having stuff like spell damage to buff it, and 1 damage is definitely not that high. So you have to use it in combination with other sources of damage like your hero power or spell damage. Corehound is kind of a finisher card, but has really low health. Water Elemental is the clear winner. It's kind of an auto-pick card for drafting Mage. It's a very powerful minion. Alright, Footman is terrible. So between Mirror Image and Mirror Entity, that's a tough one. Mirror Image is sort of just a delay unless you have buff cards. I do have one Shattered Sun, but I would really need like Dark Iron, Argus, Stormwind Champion maybe, stuff like that to make use of these. Otherwise it's just a delay that allows you to attack the opponent's face a little bit. But I tend to not play that way. I mostly play by trading favorably. So Mirror Image wouldn't help me that much. But then again, Mirror's played around so well. Mirror Entity. I guess I'll try Image. Maybe I'll get some buffs. Alright, well, here's a buff, Direwolf Alpha, but it's not worth picking up just for that. Tauren Warrior is very weak. Generally skip this card because its stats are too low for 3. So we'll go Frostbolt. Really efficient spell. It's nice to have a couple of these in the deck if possible for some really good control. Okay. Ghoul is probably the weakest here. It's best if you can trade your 2-drop for their 2-drop when you play it, so it becomes a 4/3 and grows from there. Ogre's a great 6, and Champion's a great 7. So, I think I'll go Champion as a stronger card overall. As I mentioned, I do want some buffs from Mirror Image, so it's possible, but unlikely, but it's possible that I'll be able to buff those so they can attack. Okay. Blade Master is just a 4/3 for 3, unless you can heal him, which we cannot. It's okay, but not great. Abomination again. I think Actioneer is the winner here. Right now, I have 3 spells, 2 of which are pretty cheap, and therefore could be probably cast the same turn I play this. And hopefully I'll draft a few more spells before we're done here. So if you can get even 1 draw out of the Auctioneer, it's very, very powerful. Okay, well, here are a couple more spells against a Magi. So I think I will go Polymorph over the Magi here. I would like to get some more 4-drop minions, but having a Poly in the deck is pretty strong. Yeah, I'm a little worried about going too heavy on spells, but hopefully we'll draft some minions. Okay, here we go. So Clone of Cold is probably the weakest here. It's just not that much damage for the mana cost these days, now that it's 4. So you deal 3 damage for 4 mana. And while you do get a freeze, all you're really doing is delaying stuff and investing in utilizing more of your mana, usually through your hero power, to finish minions off. So if you play this card properly, you basically gain card advantage at the loss of tempo, because you spend a lot of mana using 1 or 2 hero powers in addition to kill a couple things. Archmage is okay on 6. Not great, but he has a lot of health. But Sen'jin's the winner here. Really good 4-drop, and we could use more. Okay, Oracle's out. Explosion is pretty weak, so I'm going to go Wolf Rider. 3 damage for 3 mana. Not bad. And I don't have many 3s right now. Okay. I think Ice Lance is actually the weakest of these. It's really difficult to use this card to actually do effective damage, because you have to, of course, have the target frozen already. So if you have a water elemental, or a couple of them maybe, you can pull it off. Where the water elemental, attacks a minion, doesn't kill it, but it doesn't kill the elemental, then you Ice Lance to finish it. Or maybe the hero to do 4 damage to the opponent's face. But it's a pretty bad card overall. Tidehunter's also weak. 1 health minions die very easily. So Flame Strike's the clear winner. Pretty much an auto pick card, the first 1 or 2 that you see, because it's very powerful. Oh jeez. Well, I did say the first 1 or 2 Flame Strikes you see, you generally want to pick, but in this case, I think Crusader's the winner, because she's really powerful for a 3-drop minion. And I don't have that many early games right now. So I think I'll go with her over the Flame Strike in this particular case. Aha! Alright, so Nightblade's out. Water Elemental versus Dark Iron. That's a tougher choice. Water Elemental is very powerful, but I think Dark Iron's going to win here because I have a few early game minions, Novice Engineer and Mirror Image, basically, that Dark Iron would probably be good with. We could also use it late game with something like Wolf Rider to do 5 damage on demand. Yeah, I think I'll go Dark Iron. Alright, well, we've seen all these cards, so these two are crappy, so we'll go Arcane Intellect. Crocolisk is very weak. Really don't like this card because it doesn't have 3 attack and doesn't have any spell text either, so it doesn't kill 3-drop minions. So Spiteful versus Magi. Spiteful is better for our curve because we don't have as many 5s as 4s, but I think Magi will serve us better overall. Well, actually, maybe that's debatable. No, I think it's probably worth picking up. I have a few spells where spell damage will be relevant. Yeah, I'll go with it. Wow, okay, Shield Bearer is terrible, never draft it. Geomancer is also pretty weak. It can't trade well for 2s. Haloon is also very weak, but it's a 6 and I don't have any 6s. So I think I'm going to pick her over the Geo. Epic choice here. So Molten Giant is pretty difficult to cast since as a mage I won't be taking that much damage typically. So between Big Game Hunter and Blood Knight, Big Game's tough to utilize the Battlecry in arenas. You don't see that many 7+ minions. Usually it's a Venture Code Mercenary. So I think Blood Knight is the winner here. If we can catch a Divine Shield, it'll be very powerful, and otherwise we'll just play it as a 3/3. God, I really am not getting these 2 drops that I want. I think the Owl is going to win out over these 2. Archer is just not strong enough. Her Battlecry is not good enough. Utilizing this as a silence in the late game may be useful to bypass a Taunt or Divine Shield. Although Divine Shield's less important since I can get rid of it with my Hero Power for 2 mana. But bypassing a Taunt may allow me to finish the game where I can't, and I don't have any silence otherwise. So it's a really weak card against Druids and Mages and Rogues, but I think it's the best of these, since Mirror Entity is so easy to play around. Okay, another epic choice here. So Captain is just basically a 3/3 if you don't have any other epic choices. Spellbender is okay, but it's tough to trigger. You really want a buff of some kind that the opponent's trying to play on their own minion. So between Spellbender and Pyro, usually Pyro is a better card, so I think I'm going to go for it. Because there are a number of games where Spellbender won't even trigger, and so it's a dead card. Pyro is also a dead card until you reach 10 mana, but it's still a really powerful finisher that is not all that expected. Alright, some 2s. So definitely Ooze over the Raptor since it has a battle cry, and the explosion is pretty weak. Alright, more 2s. Fairy Dragon definitely beats out these 2 cards. Panther's okay. With the stealth, he trades 1 for 1 when you want, but still really low health. Fairy Dragon is great on 2, and we could use it. Alright, excellent. Starting to get back in the swing here with the draft. Bodyguard is pretty weak. I would say not a very strong minion, even with the taunt. Ice Barrier is only good if you're really about to take back control of the game, but you just need to hold on a little longer. So sometimes that happens, but most of the time it doesn't. So I'm going to go Crusader here as another grade 3 drop. Okay, a couple spells. So this is going to be between Missiles and Water Elemental. And I think Elemental is just too good to pass up. Missiles are pretty strong early game, but once you get to the mid or late game, they're a lot weaker. I also don't have any mana worms, so stuff like Missiles and Mirror Image that are good early game spells with a mana worm to get buffed are not quite as strong. So I will go Water Elemental here. Oh geez, okay. Bluegill, 2 damage for 2 mana. Let's see, how many 2s do I have? 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, plus a Frostbolt. That's not bad. Hero power kind of makes up for a little early game weakness. Our 3s are really strong, so shouldn't be too bad off. So I think I'll go either the Elemental or the Ogre. See, our 4s, we have 2 Elementals, Sen'jin, Ogre, Dark Iron. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I think the 6 Ogre here is the best pick for late game. Ooh. So Blade Master is the weakest of these. Pyro is really strong if you have good combinations with the spells. I don't have that many spells, however. And Sunwalker is so powerful in the late game. I think I have to go Sunwalker. Let's see. So our late game would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Arcane Explosion, Frost Nova. I'm not a big fan of this card because it's one of those cards that just delays things but doesn't actually give you advantage in most cases, unless you're just trying to finish the opponent off, which is tough to do in arenas. So as much as I dislike this card, I think Hunter is the winner here. Although I could go Explosion because I only have 1 board clear, which is Flame Strike. I don't have that much spell damage, however. I only have the 1 Magi. But Explosion is slightly better in this deck because of the potential for Auctioneer. I just don't think I need the 3 minion, this one in particular, because it's so weak. So yeah, I think I'll try Explosion as a pseudo board clear. Basically use it to kill off a 1 health minion or 2 if possible, and then set myself up against 2 health minions to kill them with my hero power the next turn. So yeah, I'll try that. Ooh, wow, last pick here, okay. So Corsair's terrible, should never draft it. Cobra's quite good. It almost always just trades for 1 for 1. Especially without many buffs, but sometimes you can get really good trade. So between that and another Auctioneer, how many spells do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Although a couple of those are really high end. It's not that many spells. But my 5s are also pretty weak. Yeah, I think I'll go Auctioneer again. It's not a great 5-drop on its own, since it's only 4/4, but as a mage, if this dies to a 5/5 of the opponent's, I can at least theoretically ping it and finish it off with my hero power. Okay, there we go. So, it's an okay deck. Again, I was worried about the early game, but we saw a couple draws right at the end there. Fairy Dragon and Ooze that pulled it out a bit. I still don't have a great set of minions on 2, but my 3s are strong. 4s are strong. And late game is pretty good. It's a nice curve, too, which is important. So I think this deck will go fairly well. I will predict 9 wins. I'll say 9. A lot of it will come down to Auctioneer. So we get into game 1 here against a rogue.
You asked for it.
Okay. I'm going to try to get the 2s. Okay, well, no 2, but this is a better 3 than the one we had previously.
Hello.
Uh-oh. Probably Defias. No. Interesting. Alright, well you don't see Mana Wraith very often. I will ping it, because what else can I do? And based on my hand, I'll probably ping it again next turn. Which is very slow. But luckily he didn't have anything to do, so he wraithed and then prevented himself from playing something. Okay. Since he didn't attack with his dagger, I have to assume he's going to play Deadly Poison on it. But not much I can do. Wow, Deadly Poison blind. So he probably hits me. Oh, I see. You wanted to defy us. So I think I Water Elemental here, since it would take everything he has to kill it. And likely he will not sacrifice these into this. If he doesn't, I Coda one of them. That's the basic plan here. Okay, so he's gonna backstab Eviscerate, I think.
This guy's toast.
Ah, no. Alright, that's pretty good. Not bad. So, an interesting divergence point here. If I ping this, I can play Crusader, but then the shield from the Crusader probably dies to his weapon, and then he would use a 2-2 to finish it. Which means the Kodo then cannot kill anything. However, if the Kodo hits this, then I can't ping it afterward. But I still think Kodo's the right play. I just hope it gets the 2-2. Nope. Oh well. It's not terrible. In theory, it trades for both these still.
It's time for a little blood.
Okay. I think I'm going to Priestess to heal here a bit. Because I can't really do anything that's a dual minion other than Owl and 4. And the Owl doesn't do anything except silence this. And it's not a threat right now, anyway. Based on the way that this guy's playing, I just need to hold on a little bit. And, so that was either Cold Blood or Dark Iron, probably. Huh. What's he doing? Fan of Knives? Alright. Okay. Not bad. So Magi, Crusader, fine here. The nice thing is if he wants to break the shield with his weapon, he has to use a Perdition's Blade charge on the Divine Shield. Unless he has more spells. Nope. So probably... Wow.
I am ready to learn.
So many spells. So I'll probably be forced to fireball this. Let's see, 4 mana remaining. Engineer, ping that, I think. Not great, but it's good enough. I could also just go for his face, but I'm 1 turn away from Pyro, which means I wouldn't be able to finish him before I die. Health is really low though. It's scary. Not bad. Mirror is pretty good here. I was considering Auctioneer and Poly on this, but Mirror allows me to spend my mana to ping that.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Could also silence it, but then I can't kill it.
I wonder.
So he's going to play a 2/2 and a 2/1 next turn. Yeah, I think I'll silence it, since I'm almost certain to Flame Strike this coming turn. Alright, I'll take an Assassinate on the Auctioneer.
Yeah, beat it.
Oh, Sunwalker. So tempting. But no, I think Intellect and Flame Strike. Okay, 2 cards. Oh, what a good draw. Well, I was almost guaranteed to win, but now it's
Go ahead.
not so much guaranteed. Probably likely though, because I have 13 damage in hand. So I think I Wolf Rider Sunwalker here. He'll probably be obligated to break the Divine Shield with his face. Oops. Can attack? What am I saying? so that this can kill it. Ah, assassinate. Either way, the obvious setup here is that we put him at 10, so unless he heals. Wow. Okay. Yeah. He played it basically assuming I had Fireball, which is probably the safer way to do it. Because if he attacked to break the shield, of course, he would have gotten a 6. But it didn't matter. So there you go. Pyro, still very strong. You just have to wait 2 more turns to be able to utilize it. And technically, you can do a little less damage the same turn. Since, you know, before you could play a Frostbolt and a Pyro the same turn and do 13, or Pyro and Hero Power for 11. But still quite a bit of finishing damage.